By the end of this video, the fear of failure will no longer be an excuse not to do the thing God has called you to do. The fear of failure will no longer be an excuse for you to bury those dreams, those goals, those visions, those seeds that God has planted inside of you. Because He needs you to start today. He needs you to start today. Failure is nothing to fear. Failure is not doom. Failure is not death. It's life, actually. Failure is life, and it's a part of life. Without failures, without unexpected outcomes, you'd never give life to the person you were meant to be. To the you 2.0. Like, think so intentionally about every single failure in your past. Where has it put you right now? Think about the ways it's blessed your current life right now and how intentional all those failures were for your growth. If your past failures haven't elevated you in any way, it means you haven't let failure do the thing it was meant to do to you, which is caterpillar you into a butterfly, which is bring you from grass to grace. Failure was meant to season you. Failure was meant to enrich you. Think about all the people who inspire you today, all the people who walk in confidence, who are bold, who are powerful, who are so wise, who offer you so much value and insight. Behind that person is a wagon full of failures. Behind that person is a wagon full of closed doors, rejections, hard no's. They'd never be the man or woman they were meant to be without them. They're not their failures, but they're a product of the lesson they gained from them. You're so stuck on the feeling of rejection, on the feeling of disappointment, that you can't see the reason it was all for your good. The Bible says in Romans 8 verse 28, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. The failure you fear is meant to work together for the good of your pre-assigned purpose. Everything that happened to you is preparing you for right now. Everything that's going to happen to you later is preparing you for who you're going to be. You fear failure because you hate the feeling of unexpected outcomes and disappointment. But you can start appreciating failure today if you start loving the way it's processing you to be the person you were meant to become. If you resist and run away from every single challenging feeling in life, if you resist and run away from every single discomfort, you can expect to stay the exact same. Beautiful things need pressure applied to it before it becomes beautiful. Like, you can literally expect to stay the exact same, dormant in your comfort zone, the same comfort zone you've been in for the past decade. But the problem with that is that your fear of failure is putting your God-given riches in a box and burying it with a shovel. Burying it. In the parable of the talents where Jesus gave everybody their talents, and then there was just the guy who got the one talent, and he didn't do anything with it. He buried it. He didn't work on it. And Jesus called him, you wicked and slothful servant. How dare you? God said, how dare you? And you know what his problem was? He had a fear of failure. He said, but master, I was scared of disappointing you. I know you're a tough master. I was scared. Like, the fear of failure will quite frankly ruin your life. No longer will fear of failure be an excuse to not bring God's visions to life anymore. Failure is indeed nothing to fear, because failure is actually your friend if you embrace it. I'm going to show you 5 ways failure can be your friend. I'm going to show you 5 ways failure can be your friend, because at the end of this, I don't want you to ever have fearing failure as an excuse for you not to try. You were born to try. You were born to create. If anything's going to stop you from doing that, you need to put it under submission. Here we go. 5 ways failure can be your friend. This is going to sound really crazy and really goofy, but you guys need to understand we need to start embracing failure because it's a natural part of life. It's a natural part of life, okay? First way failure can be your friend. There ain't nobody in this world who's going to polish you the way a failure can. There's nobody who's going to refine you and polish you the way failure can. Your finished project that's awaiting you will not shine as bright as it can without failure to refine it. Nothing breeds excellence greater than a failure. Failure prepares you for your big reveal. The unseen things need to happen in order for the seen things to blow people away. The underground roots and everything need to start blossoming first before the tree and the fruit start sprouting. Guys, failures and mistakes will prune the finished product. Whatever you're working on, embrace the failures, because only thing failures are going to do is show you how to make things better. Don't resist failure. Point number 2. No one is going to transform your heart and your habits the way failure can. Failures work on your hearts and your habits the way wins can't. Sometimes you need that disappointment. Sometimes you need that rejection because you're too this or you're too that. Sometimes you need that in order to do a deep dive and a reflection inside. Sometimes you need to not catch that train for you to realize, man, I got a late problem and I need to change. There's certain things that we harbor in our hearts, and there's certain bad habits that we harbor and hold on to that wouldn't really be illuminated and come to light if it wasn't for the fact that we failed or made a mistake. Failures reveal that. And once you learn that lesson from that failure, you become a you 2.0. You become a changed and reformed person. The more you embrace this about failure, the better of a person you become, the more you become more like Christ, actually. And sometimes you wouldn't be able to see that unless you fail. Like, learning from your sins are so necessary to be sanctified and be like Christ, right? This is something only failures can reveal. Embrace them and learn from them. Point number 3. This is the third way failure comes through as our friend, okay? Ain't nobody gonna save you time and reveal your true calling better than a failure. Failures can be the best redirectors, helping you find out that what you thought was for you actually wasn't for you. Like, let me remind you guys, closed doors are protection. Closed doors, in most cases, are protection. Every single thing that happens for those who love God, for those who are called according to his purpose, work out for our good. And sometimes that failure needs to happen to save your time because you've been working hard, laboring on something that really wasn't meant for you. That really wasn't your true calling. Embrace the time saving. Embrace the fact that you realize now rather than later. Embrace it. Disappointment sucks. It hurts. Feel it, swallow it, move on. Now you know what not to do. You did all this, you put all this effort in, grieve, mourn about it, move on. Now you have refined movement. 4th way, failure can be your best friend. Y'all, you know what a failure can do for you? Failure can show you who your true friends are. Failure can show you who your true family is. Failure can show you who your true circle of people are. When you fail at something, what do the people around you say? Who really is for you? Like, who really is for you? You know what I mean? Like, nothing reveals your true circle more than a failure. More than hitting rock bottom, to be honest. And it's in those moments that you give God the glory for showing you the reals from the fakes. Some people are just here for the jolly ride. Some people are just here to enjoy when you are enjoying, to enjoy when you're up. But when you're down, who's around? That's something only a failure can do, to be honest. Only a failure can get those scissors and snip all the people who are not meant to be in your life. It is what it is, right? The people who are meant for you, the people God sent for you will hold on to you the tightest when you are at your lowest. Those are God-given gems. And sometimes those people are not really revealed until failures strike, until unexpected turns in your life strike. Give God the glory for that. Give God the glory for showing you the people who were not meant to be in your circle, who are not meant to dine with you at your lowest, so that when you reach your highest, you have the rightful people there. And last but not least, the biggest thank you to failures. Ain't nobody going to get you wiser than failures. Like, wisdom, next level. Wisdom, next level. Your wisdom will be Do you see the wisdom? Do you see the wisdom King Solomon was speaking in Ecclesiastes? What? After all his failures in his lifetime? Failures breed the most 2.0 people in the world. It's lived experience. Lived experience cannot be bought. It's priceless. You know what it means to see a situation and know the outcome it's going to have because of what you have experienced in your past? That saves you time, money, resources. Wisdom is something that can't be bought. Can't be bought. And unfortunately, you will not have that wealth of wisdom without some boo-boos in the past. It can't happen. Wisdom helps you, wisdom helps others, and wisdom glorifies God. So now that I've outlined all the goods that can come from failure, please remind me, what is your fear? What is your fear of something that's meant to happen, something that's meant to refine you, something that's meant to make you your best possible self? What's your excuse not to start? The worst that can happen is the worst that can happen. The worst that can happen is the worst that can happen. But it's not the end of your journey. It's just a necessary reroute for a greater life. God has already reminded you in his word that it's going to work out for your good. Failure is not a loss. Not starting is. Failure is only costly in that brief moment of time that it happens. But not starting what God has planted inside of you will be costly for a lifetime. Fear not trying more than you fear failure, because failure creates refined movement. And another word for refined movement is growth. Growth is so necessary for life. If you are not trying, you are dying. If you fall doing the thing God calls you to do, if you fall, or when you fall, or whatever the case may be, we have a God who specializes in making the righteous rise when they fall. Proverbs 24 verse 16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. If you are in God and you move for him, your fall was meant for your rise. Your fall will be your rise. Now, guys, final assignment. I want you guys to do something for me, okay? Because I want to slaughter the fear of failure from the equation of doing what you are meant to do. Write down the vision God has given you, or the goal or the dream God has given you that you know you need to start, but fear of failure is just keeping you captive. Okay, after you do that, I want you to write down all the fears that you have of failing. Fear that somebody will make fun of you. Fear that this, fear that. Write down all the fears that you have of failing. Ask yourself this question after writing down this list. What failures here, knowing how big and mighty my God is, my God who has promised to use every single thing for good, what things on this list, what fears on this list are greater than not starting at all? Some of these fears, right, can actually be financial resources, which is okay, if you don't have the finances, ask God for it, right? Ask God for these things. Of course, you can't start if you don't have the physical means to start. But if the physical means are there, but you're just scared of failing, what's a failure? What's a failure when you're doing it for God? What's a failure? What's an unexpected outcome when he said he's going to use every outcome for his glory? Don't resist any longer. Failure is not doom. Failure is not destruction. Failure is unexpected outcomes designed for an abundance of refinement. You can't lose. You can only lose if you don't go.